children can feel when the parent doesn't live out their full dreams. And they can feel the loss of that, you know, even for their parent. And so there's something that's awesome about a parent going, especially a mother, going and like being a good example of going and getting what she needs for herself. But then there's also the other side of it, that is that, you know, there's a cost to all of that.
Welcome to On the Record. We are excited you guys are joining us from the John Deere stage. She is a Grammy-nominated artist with an incredible catalog of songs that includes 10 number ones. Please welcome Nicolle Galyon. Did I get all that right?
I think so.
Okay. I have to ask you, you know, obviously an incredible career. Living here in Nashville, and this is where you really launched song after song. But I understand it was during the pandemic that you got to go home back to Sterling, Kansas, and made the decision to kind of go home. So you really split your time between two?
Yeah, I grew up in Sterling, Kansas, like 2,500 people. And I was never one of those people when I graduated from high school that was like, oh, I can't wait to get out of here. I just knew that I wanted to come to Nashville. But I've been in some ways homesick for my hometown for the last 22 years. I love my hometown and I loved my childhood there, and married somebody who grew up in a really small town in the Midwest. And so our kids just got to the age where we were like, let's just go back for the summer. And then pandemic happened and we ended up staying. We went back to Sterling for 2 weeks and stayed a year and a half. And I think we both just realized that this is what raised us, was like growing up in the heartland and in a small rural community. And we wanted to give that back to our kids. And we felt like we had, been afforded privilege to be able to, because Nashville has been so good to us and the music business has. And so we were like, okay, this is our one childhood. Let's reroot ourselves back in the Midwest. So we're back in Sterling now.
That's incredible. And when you talk about Nashville being so good to you, you also being so good to Nashville. Can I just read off some of the songs for people who are watching right now that this woman had a hand in writing? Dan and Shay's Tequila, Dierks Bentley, Gone, Miranda Lambert, Automatic, Kelsey Ballerini and Kenny Chesney, Half of My Hometown, Coming Home, Keith Urban, Camila Cabello. Did I say her name right? Consequences.
I think so. I don't know if I say it right either.
But I mean, an incredible lineup of songs that you just, I feel like, we don't really see that much. As far as, there are a few. They always say that having a number one song, I've heard in this town, is like winning the lottery. And to come out with bam, 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 I mean, just an incredible talent.
Oh,
I want to go back to Kansas, because I understand that's where you also decided to record your album, or when you decided to record your album, Firstborn. There's that first song on there, Winner, and Winner, South Dakota, where you were born, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, listening to some of those lyrics. It seems like you're hard on yourself.
Yeah, I mean, the name Nicolle actually means victorious, means victory. And I've always been a competitive person. I've been competitive with myself. I grew up playing sports. I love sports. Played volleyball and basketball. And, and I think there was a part of me that felt like I had something to prove to myself coming to Nashville for a multitude of reasons. But, I was blessed enough to ride this arc of seeing a lot of my dreams come true here. And, and I think you get to that mountaintop moment where you're standing on a stage at the ACMs or at the BMI Awards, and you kind of look around and you have a different point of view than you've ever had, because you've never been on that mountaintop. And then you go, okay, well, what else is there? And for me, the what else was kind of zooming in on where I came from. And that kind of took me back home. When we were home in pandemic, I was just driving a lot, like down dirt roads and wheat fields. And it just gives you the space to think, but then also reflect on your whole life. And I was just looking around Kansas, and I think I remembered who I was growing up there, dreaming of Nashville. And I reconnected with that part of myself. And through that, I started to get song ideas that were about my life, they weren't song ideas for Kelsey Ballerini or Keith Urban. They were song ideas about where I came from, and that, had I not been there during pandemic, I don't know that I would have had the space in my life to, I don't know, have the vision to do a record for myself. But that's kind of the beauty of the Heartland, and to me anyway, is just having the space to kind of wide open spaces to be bored, and that's where creativity comes from.
Take us back to Sterling as a kid. When did music take hold of you, and when did you realize, and did your family say, hey, this is something you need to pursue? And was it the singing or the songwriting that came first?
Well, it was actually neither. It was classical piano.
Wow. Okay.
I started playing, begging to take piano lessons at like 4 years old. And did like competitive, like I would play like Beethoven and Bach, and did like, that was what I was doing growing up. I would do piano competitions and would play with like symphony orchestra situations, and so there was that happening in my life, which I was obsessed with piano, but also I was a country music super fan. My mom and I are like, my first time on an airplane was, I think, at 12 or 13 to come here for Fanfare. It was now CMA Fest, but at the time it was Fanfare, and my mom was, you know, that was our thing. She would drive me to concerts. We would drive 6 hours to go see somebody in concert. And I was just obsessed. And I think in hindsight, that was kind of the genesis of me like getting to Nashville, was just becoming a fan and being obsessed. I wanted to know everything about every artist. And at that point, I didn't even know that songwriting
was a thing.
A
job.
I don't know where I thought these songs came from, but that is what got me to Nashville. And then when I got here, I learned about songwriting, and it was just, you know, providence that I had the piano and music background when I got the curiosity about songwriting to be able to just sit down at a piano and start writing songs by myself and trying it.
How did you get kind of discovered?
Well, one of the common things about Nashville is that people are doing all kinds of jobs along the way. A lot of them are like not glamorous, you know, waiting tables or valeting cars. And I got a job as a personal assistant when I was in college to a booking agent at William Morris. His name was Greg Oswald.
Yeah, I know Greg.
Everybody knew Greg. And Greg was like, I need a driver, I need an assistant, I need somebody to take care of my dog, my house, all this stuff. And so I ended up with that job. And through that job, I would help him throw parties at his house. I would drive him and his clients around. And I mean, after 4 years of having that job, I felt like I had been introduced to all of Nashville. One of them was Paul Worley. He had heard me play some songs, and through him, I got connected with some publishers at Warner Chappell, which is where I ended up signing my first publishing deal. And so that's kind of how, it's never A to B in Nashville. It's never, oh, I walked in the front door of a building and asked for a publishing deal and got it. It's usually going all the way around the world to get right back to where you wanted to be. So for me, it was taking care of Greg Oswald's dog and giving piano lessons to his nieces and nephew, and you know. So I just always tell any person that's new to Nashville, they're like, "What do I need to do?" And I was like, "Do anything."
Right. You never know where it's going to lead.
You never know.
You're going to stick around. We're going to talk more. And really, you said something to me. I didn't see myself as much as a singer as I was a songwriter. When you listen to the songs that you've recorded, and I told you I've had the opportunity to see you on stage in songwriter rounds, phenomenal vocalist. We're going to talk more with Nicolle Galyon when we come back here on The Record.
So it was like a fun challenge, but once I had success doing that, and you know, and I've had success with both women and men artists, but once it came time to where I could do anything that I wanted to do, I was like, you know what would be really fun is just to work with females.
Welcome back to On the Record, spending time with the beautiful Nicolle Galyon. For you, what is it after all of this, an incredible, successful career, life and family, and loving your life in Sterling, Kansas, you still love songwriting?
Wow, no one's asked me that. You know, if I'm super honest, I think I need a little breather from writing. I'm loving pouring into other people. You know, I think my relationship with songwriting is definitely changing as I get older. I will always love songwriting, and I'll always be a writer. I can't not write, you know. But I think I'm more of a writer. Sometimes I think myself as more of a writer than just a songwriter. I think I love writing, you know, journaling.
Yeah.
I would love to write a book someday. I would love to write. I love writing this article for American Songwriter. I think I'm learning that I have more to say than what you can always fit in a 3-minute song, and that maybe some things that I want to say don't have to rhyme.
Well, you're talking about this, and it's reminding me of your song called Deathbed, where I think every woman in the world who works, and really not even, I mean, if they're, you know, home, a stay-at-home mom, the struggle, am I good enough? Am my kids learning? There is that kind of guilt. And especially I think for an artist, right, having to step away sometimes or really donate or dedicate your time to your craft. I have children I have to raise. And I thought, wow, how many women can relate to that song?
Yeah, I think like Deathbed is, you know, it's like a double-edged sword because, you know, children can feel when the parent doesn't live out their full dreams, and they can feel the loss of that, you know, even for their parent. And so there's something that's awesome about a parent going, especially a mother, going and like being a good example of going and getting what she needs for herself. But then there's also the other side of it, that is that, you know, there's a cost to all of that. And yeah, Deathbed, when I made Firstborn, I was like, start with where you were born and start with how it ends. So Deathbed was the title that just came to mind, and it was really like if you were on your deathbed tomorrow, what needs to be said to your kids. And you know, I went so hard for so many years. You know, if I didn't work out at 5:30 in the morning, it wasn't happening. And so many women are in that place, you know. And if you got a little window where you get to see your kids, and I've been the one that's had to miss, you know, a school party that's at 10:30 in the morning because I wasn't there. And you know, and you just want your kids to know the heart behind why you were doing what you were doing, you know. And
I love that. And that's why you're so amazing, because if anybody ever saw the song or title Deathbed, no idea that you can really wrap that emotion in that story with that title. It makes you so incredible. What an honor to have you here. And how great to be able to pay it forward like you're doing to so many young female artists that are just coming up. Read the column by this woman, too, an American Songwriter. You do such an incredible job.
Thank you.
What an honor having you here, really, truly.
It's
just
an honor
blessed.
to be here.
You bet. We're going to wrap this up here on the John Deere stage. This is on the record, but we're going to go ahead and play Nicolle Galyon. Take a look at this video. Here's Deathbed.
If you had to ask me the same question twice, if he broke your heart and I was stuck on a fight, if I made it look easy pulling out of the drive, you just weren't in the car to see Superman cry. No, if you hear this one's for you. And I hope that you know that the rest of them, yeah, they were too. When the lights start to turn out, I won't toss and turn back. Big dreams burning holes in my head. If you're all that I'm known for, when I'm all but done for, I won't try to hold that last breath. If you're all that's left of me, I'll get a good night's sleep on my deathbed, deathbed. I'm not afraid of what's next. On my deathbed, deathbed, I close my eyes with no regrets. 'Cause baby, you're perfect. You are, it was worth it. And while I won't fight that last breath, I'll just pull up the covers, knowing I was your mother, and I put that heart in your chest. If you're all that's left of me, that's one hell of a legacy. And why I'll get one